The late-night internet forums were always a tempting escape. When I first stumbled upon them during my sophomore year of college, I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I'd been dealing with a tough breakup and struggling with schoolwork, feeling like everything was slipping through my fingers. One night, I found myself on a random message board. It wasn't a place for casual chats. This one was different, a place where people talked about everything that the mainstream world didn't want to know about. At first, it was just an idle curiosity. I clicked on threads about conspiracy theories, unusual mysteries, and strange happenings. It felt like a place where no topic was off limits. People there talked about things like secret societies and government cover-ups, the kinds of things that seemed impossible to believe. But at the same time, you couldn't help but wonder if there was a grain of truth to them. Then, one thread caught my eye. Quick money, no experience needed, remote work. The description wasn't anything special. It promised easy cash for doing a simple job, something that could fit around my class schedule. I was intrigued, but skeptical. I'd seen scams before, people trying to get you to fill out surveys or click on links for a penny here and there. But something about this post felt different. The user who created the thread was someone called Shadow Wolf, and he was enthusiastic about the job. He said he'd been working it for months, making more money than he had ever imagined. He even posted screenshots of his bank account, showing significant amounts of cash transferred. No one asked what the job was exactly, but the replies praised the work and said it was easy money. The whole thing sounded too good to be true, but my rent was coming up, and I had no clue how I was going to cover it. I had nothing to lose, so I decided to give it a shot. I followed the link, and it led to a basic-looking website. It was old-fashioned, like something from the early 2000s, but the offer was clear. Become a viewer for a streaming site and get paid for your time. I figured it was just another form of data entry or moderation for some platform, and I didn't see any harm in it. There was a simple form to fill out, asking for my name, age, and email. That was it. I hesitated for only a second before hitting submit. A confirmation email came almost immediately with simple instructions. Log in at 9:30 p.m., join a specific stream, and observe. The email didn't give any further details, but the tone was blunt. No chatting, no interacting with others. Just watch and report. I shrugged it off, telling myself I'd get through this, get the money, and be out. The first night was uneventful, nothing like what I expected. I logged in, and there was a list of streams available, but most of them were empty, or showing what seemed like surveillance footage of streets or empty rooms. I picked one at random and clicked to join. The feed started, and I found myself staring at a nondescript living room. A man sat on a couch, scrolling through his phone. There was nothing unusual about it. I watched for a while, the silence in the stream almost eerie in its normality. After an hour, the feed cut off, and a prompt popped up on the screen, asking if I had seen anything out of the ordinary. I typed in a few basic notes and hit submit. The money was deposited into my account the next morning. I was shocked at how easy it had been. It was more than I made at my part-time job, and all I had to do was sit and watch. So, I kept doing it. Each night, I logged in at the same time, joining different streams. The content varied. Some streams were just empty rooms, others were ordinary people talking, and a few seemed like weird social experiments. I grew accustomed to it, but then, after a few days, things took a darker turn. I opened a stream that was different from the rest. The video showed an old man sitting in a dimly lit room, surrounded by shelves of dusty books. His face was wrinkled, his hands shaky, but his eyes were piercing as they locked onto the camera. His mouth opened, and he spoke in a low, rasping voice. "You're watching me, aren't you?" The words sent a shiver through me, but I told myself it was just part of the act. Still, I felt uneasy. Why would they be filming this? Why was he speaking directly to the camera? I had never encountered anything like this before. The stream continued, and I couldn't stop watching, even as my gut told me something wasn't right. After a few minutes, a second man appeared on the screen. He was younger, his face covered by a mask. He walked over to the old man and grabbed him by the arm, pulling him out of his chair and pushing him toward the door. I wasn't sure what to think, but it was unsettling. My hands shook as I typed my report, noting the strange interaction. The next day, I received a message from Shadow Wolf. It was simple, just a line. "Good job. Keep watching." That was when I realized something wasn't right. Over the next few nights, the streams grew darker. I watched as men and women were brought into the frame, some bound to chairs, others terrified and pleading. There was one particularly disturbing night when a woman was shown locked in a small, dark room, her voice breaking as she begged for help. Her face was bruised, her eyes swollen from crying. The stream was silent except for her voice. The worst part, I was supposed to do nothing but observe. I began to feel sick. Each night I signed in, I felt more like a voyeur than someone doing a simple job. The man who had been in the chair earlier, the one who had spoken to the camera, started showing up in different streams. He seemed to be part of a twisted pattern, appearing in various situations, always in distress, always trapped in some way. One night, I watched as he was pushed to the ground, tied up again, and left in a dark, empty room. I wanted to quit, but by then, I had been working for nearly 2 weeks, and the money was far too good to walk away from. I was in too deep. Then, the messages from Shadow Wolf started getting personal. He would text me, "You know what's at stake." And every time I tried to close the browser or turn off my computer, the fear of what might happen if I stopped kept me logged in. It wasn't until the night I logged in and saw a different kind of message. A warning, written in red text. "Don't quit. It won't end well for you." That's when I knew I had to escape. But there was no easy way out. The more I tried to distance myself, the more I realized I was being watched. It wasn't just through the streams anymore. My social media accounts were flooded with cryptic messages. "We see you," they would say. Sometimes, the messages would come from unknown numbers, sometimes from strange accounts that had no pictures, no posts, nothing except for the words, "We know." I reached out to a friend, someone who had always been good with technology. I explained everything, the job, the streams, the messages. He was scared for me, but he didn't hesitate to help. He helped me erase my traces online, delete every account, and change my personal information. I moved out of town, hoping to leave everything behind. But even now, the messages still come. They're fewer now, less frequent, but I know they're always out there. I can't get away. Every time I hear a ping on my phone or see an unfamiliar number, my heart skips. It's only a matter of time before they find me again. In the back of my mind, I know that I will never be truly free. I crossed a line, and there's no going back. The people behind those streams, they're watching, and one day, they'll come for me. But until then, I'll keep looking over my shoulder, knowing that I'm never completely alone.